Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about this new record from Mogwai entitled The Bad Fire. That was released on January 24th. This is the 11th studio album for the Scottish outfit and their follow-up to 2021's As the Love Continues, an album that I was terribly wrong about. It's one of the first records that I ever reviewed for the Beat Sessions, and at the time of its release, I just wasn't that crazy about it. But that album proved to be the band's first number one in the UK in its first week of release, nominated for a Mercury Prize, won the Album of the Year at the Scottish Music Awards. I was wrong about the record. And it's probably the first record on this channel where I had a number of people nicely and then also not so kindly be like, you need to check that album out again, go back and listen to it because you're wrong. And they were right. And I hope that that is something that all of you have had the chance to experience with this channel, being able to just go back and revisit something and, hoping that it has a different impact on you. I think that's one of the great things about music. As we change and as our perspectives change, our understanding of the world changes. Different compositions can have a different impact, whether it's the lyrics, whether what it's going on sonically. I know that with Mogwai, I felt a lot of that and a lot of familiarity too. I love the movement, the stylings of Sonic Youth meets Slint meets the Velvet Underground meets, the MC5, especially like early on in their career where I feel like these ominous landscapes are developed and then there's just explosions of guitar, these moments that just take off. It's almost just like running headfirst into a mosh pit, versus now you still have a very exciting sound. It's thrilling listening to their compositions still, but it's got more of this feeling of like taking a Sunday stroll through Meadowland, or just not quite the heavy explosiveness. But I love that. I love the way the compositions more open up. There's more of kind of this fleshing out versus just the ripping. And it's one of the unique things about their sound. But I think working with John Congleton on this record is a big part of what's allowing them to move in that direction. Again, there's not a whole lot of change. There's still these familiar components to their music, but I feel like synths are a little more dominated these days, especially on this record. And John's a guy that I think, with all the experience that he has with all of the outfits that he's worked with, really good at just giving a band space, knowing when to step in, when to lead, and when to sort of just kind of like let the guys do their thing. And I think any person that serves as a producer, it's it's arguably the best way to operate. I think the best do harbor that ability to read that scenario. Love what Dave Fridman did with the band on the last two records, but I'm certainly one to always encourage different personnel and to see what different dynamics can bring to the table creatively. So I think that this is a great move for the band, but I know that they'll continue making music, and I know that David is a guy that I can certainly see them working with again. And this is an album too that, despite all the success that they had with As the Love Continues, they went through a really hard time as a band. A lot of bad stuff happening to these guys personally in the years that followed the release of that record. And especially Barry Burns dealing with a really serious illness with one of his daughters. She thankfully was able to recover. So just incredibly happy to hear that. But it's cool the way the record opens up with God Gets You Back. And it's written by Barry and his daughter. Just a very simple kind of like mantra, almost, the lyrics just repeated over the opening track. It's almost 7 minutes long, but it really works quite well on an album and for a band that doesn't usually incorporate that type of element into their sound. But there are a handful of tracks that do capture that like shoegazy vocal element, just very hushed, very subdued. Almost impossible to even understand what is being sung, but it's I think it's a cool layer of music and helps create it just helps really capture the mood that these guys are building, which, talking about the experience of loss. There's there's that ominous foreboding feeling, the feelings that arise when you deal with grief, when you deal with loss, that are consistent throughout this project. But again, I think it's the way the compositions explore and veer into lighter territory. And there's times where guitars will have darker contrasting components and lighter arpeggiated elements, and I really just think the dynamics that are there are brilliant in distilling the feeling of life, especially as you get older. I think these guys are closing in on 50, so they're about 5 or 6 years older than I am. But it's one of the unfortunate things about life and being around for a longer time. And the longer you're around, the more likely you are to experience more loss. And so it's certainly, I feel like it's a phase in my life where, like, there's no preparing for it, but you can prepare for, I guess, what's about to come, and just be mindful of the fact that life still is beautiful. And even in suffering loss, I know that when I'm gone, I hope that the people that I love that are still here are going out and enjoying life every day. No need to get hung up over me. And so there's that element that drives the instrumentals on this record that I think is brilliantly captured. I love that mood. I love this adventure of navigating the grief process, and ultimately finding good and beauty, and just health on the other side. It's cool to experience. And who better to lay down than these guys. I would say that they've easily been one of the most impactful and most influential instrumental acts throughout the last 3 decades or so. So just love their consistency, and love what they're bringing to the table with this record, starting with God Gets You Back. Got that undulating bright synth, with sci-fi elements that open up. Get this sparse synth that works in with this foreboding contrast. So I really like the difference in mood that's developed there. Other textures work in through the development of this song. It's got this like ricocheting synth. It reminded me of kind of that echoey noise when if you've ever played racquetball, just with the echoey noise that you hear when you're in that tight contained space on the court. It really just very distinct and really cool. I love the way that it worked in this composition. The vocal is going to build in with the drums on this, and it's a song that just ventures into that ambient proggy territory, lush track, light arpeggiated guitars, but I do like the very subtle chugging rhythmic guitars that have those darker tones, that kind of more ominous mood that kind of just lingers there. Very well produced, their sound as well. And the song titles, of course, this is a band that's pretty much known for that. And High Chaos is a great song title. I saw something that said it should be a bumper sticker. I agree with that 100%. Got these twinkly guitars with contrasting bright notes. It's like there's dark and light elements that work together to open up this track. But the overall mood of High Chaos is one of tension and unease, and really just so brilliantly captured in the way that they've constructed this song, and as it builds, a true, just a fine example of their genius when it comes to that. Textures build around the guitar riffs that open up this song. This serve as the centerpiece, and then that riff is going to take this tremolo turn, just goes rapid fire, and then the instrumentation. I love the way that as this song evolves, different components will take turns being front and center stage, and so I just love the movement, the way things will shift from the foreground into the background, and just brilliant movement from a playing standpoint, but also from a production standpoint. Heavy guitars and playful bright synths on this track, and it just finds chaos as it builds to the finish, as you might expect. It really is well done. What kind of mixes this is your third track: meandering arpeggiated electric guitar. Got this minimal icy piano that works in, builds in with fuzzy distorted guitars and frenzied synths that create this full track. But I really like the way a lot of the instrumentation just remains minimal on its own, but all those components come together to create a very full musical landscape, and I think it's a difficult thing to do. It's another testament to their skills as songwriters, and I really enjoyed this track for that reason. Coda is going to drift out with the piano as the centerpiece, but that is your third track. What kind of mix is this? Your fourth song, Fanzine Made of Flesh. Yikes, that's it's kind of a Buffalo Bill kind of image, like definitely gives me the creeps. But that song, one of the few on this album with lyrics, fuzzy driving alternative guitars, got new wave synths that build in shoegaze elements as well, especially with the vocal textures that develop that hushed sort of almost indecipherable vocal element that's there. A bit of pop flair balanced with some grunge, so I like the contrasting elements there, and just a big hard rocking coda. I would say that this is a song that is probably the most accessible, probably the most radio friendly to just go to work for these guys if they if they made music to care about that kind of thing, or if they were looking to do that. But I love the sort of pop driven flair behind it, but also it's a track that doesn't feel like they're trying too hard, or like I feel like selling out is a cheap way of putting it, but it works. I think it's well done. Pale Vegan Hip Pain is your fifth track. It's another great song title that I will probably be laughing about that for a few days. Slow arpeggiated, got this like tinny desert rock guitar tone to open up this track. I love the soft icy synths that usher in the second riff as this song opens up and those two guitars go to work. Really a nice build there. Spacey keyboard element that's going to take control, and then you just get a lot of movement of the keyboards and the guitars just playing off one another as this track progresses, but stays pretty mellow. Cool number. Leads into your sixth track. If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. Kind of like that perspective. Grass is definitely always greener. This track is similar in tone as far as coming off a Pale Vegan Hip Pain, so I like the similarities there as far as the transition between songs. Ominous lead riff that has this bass that matches right behind it, so I love the combination of instruments there. Big echoey bass drum is going to help build that very just ominous, like foreboding mood. I mean, this is a song that very cinematic in the tension that it builds, and it's no wonder that these guys have ventured into that territory doing scores for TV and other media. Like I think their music is brilliant when it comes to enhancing a visual experience. These guys are great. Love the way the drums kick in a little more to create form on this track. Dueling electric guitars, and again, just very cinematic in the somber, mellow mood that this thing shifts to into the coda, and with that big build. It's a great track. 18 Volcanoes is your seventh song. Light driving texture with alternative rock guitars, atmospheric synths, soaring in the backdrop. I like the production of those synths there. Subdued vocal production on this track. Got these sci-fi synths that move in with this heavy song build. This song really does take a drift more into kind of like a hard rocking, even kind of like lighter industrial kind of feel as it progresses. Icy synths that feel it's almost like this whistling effect, and it's very drone like that takes hold in the song. Really unique there. Hammer Room is your eighth track. Light rollicking piano. This is a song that very different right out of the gate. You'll notice it immediately, and I enjoyed that about it. Light bouncy synths work in the backdrop on this track. It's going to usher in light arpeggiated guitar and a dance beat that's very unique. That beat's going to adopt a heavier feel, and you're going to get it again momentarily, but the drums definitely shift to, again, more of like a harder rocking feel as the song progresses, and the overall instrumentation is going to capture that edge as well. Lion Rumpus is your penultimate track. This is a banger. It's 3.5 minutes. That is a short song for these guys, but if you're thinking it's a pop track, no. Excellent driving percussion to open this thing up. The guitars are going to build in around those drums for a few bars, and then it just soars in heavy fashion. I mean, I love that about this band. I love the moments when their sound is rooted in heavy, hard rocking elements, but it takes this just atmospheric, ethereal liftoff. And this song, it's so immediate in the way that it happens. It's what I love about it. Electric vocal on this thing just goes nuts, like about halfway in, especially the drums. The guitar solo is really quite amazing in this track. Great penultimate song leading into Fact Boy. Your final song is light, undulating synths. Get these just the surreal effect that they're going to create. This is one of those tracks too that, given the instrumental nature of their music, I think a lot of it probably has to do with percussion and other percussive elements giving their music more form. But versus a band, say like Sigur Rós, where I feel that a song like Fact Boy is actually capturing that, just that euphoria that band is able to create in their sound. I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of structure in their compositions. And so that's what I love about Fact Boy is these guys are really working to take advantage of that. Certainly moments where you do get, some drum build, but it's all about this slow, mellow, lullaby-like quality that develops as this track progresses. It's the second longest on the album at 7 minutes, but really a beautiful number, a beautiful way to close this project out. And there's also a great little video about these guys, If the Stars Had Sound, that they came out a couple months ago. So check out this record. I'm going to give it a 7.9 out of 10. Really enjoyed this band, and it's just another consistent effort from a group of guys that I love. Their ability to tweak their sound a little bit, but to always remain familiar in that regard. And this record has that feel, along with the uplifting nature of climbing out of a tough spot. So enjoy this project, guys. I hope you find this review helpful. We're going to give it a vinyl please as well. And take care of one another. Stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. And we're going to do Classic Wax on Thursday nights for the foreseeable future. It'll be at the same time, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I will be coming at you guys with as many album reviews as I possibly can over the next few days. So in the meantime, take care. We'll see you then.